my gosh, it was a whole
Yeah, I thought I heard.
crowd out there.
I'm like, what's going on?
He can read it into the record and then we'll process that and send it to us. Okay. No. Oh, okay, yeah, we can just give it to the mayor. Yeah.
I tried to stress the last meeting to department heads. I said, things have to get tightened up. Willy-nilly, you can't score out and buy stuff. After the resolution, please respect that. It's so important, so we don't have to go through these kind of things.
You ready?
No, it's a big problem. Contracts aren't where they are supposed to be.
Welcome, everybody, to our regular Board of Trustee meeting for September 12th, 2023. Is there a motion to open tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor. Meeting is hereby open. You will notice that Trustee Taylor is appearing virtually. His address and location was properly noticed, and it can be found on the agenda. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. The first item on our agenda is a presentation on the proposed development site known as 94/95 Ashford Avenue, and to consider a resolution to authorize necessary referrals and the secret process. So is anyone here to present regarding that project? Okay, go to the mic.
Mayor, just remind the public that this is just an initial presentation, and then the necessary referrals are made. The planning board will conduct a public hearing before it comes back to us for recommendations, and then you'll conduct a public hearing if you are going to be approving this.
Thank you for that. I guess I meant to say that to everyone, that this is a project that still has quite a while to go, but we are here to hear the first presentation. It's the first time we're seeing it, and then we'll take the appropriate action, and then, as our counsel said, the public will have an opportunity to weigh in on it, and then we'll take it from there. So the floor is yours. Just please tell us who you are and who you represent.
Engineering. We have a project that's an unusual project for the area. I'm not.
Pardon me, could you speak into the mic, please?
We need you to speak into the mic.
I'm not sure if you.
Which is, I think, off.
Then I will just use words.
No, I don't think
turn the
the
mic
microphone's on.
Now, is that better? There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't have this in the PDFs that we sent, then I can show the boards, which I brought with me, so we can go over what the concept of the project.
We'll certainly show the boards, because I'm sure the public would like to see the boards, so,
Well, the public has very little way to see the boards.
well, they're right there.
Can we,
He's gonna pick
can
it
we
up.
throw a camera on them?
I will holding them up.
You have a tripod that he could put them on, or?
Well, we have them electronically, don't we?
If you have them electronically here.
I'm saying for the people, do you have it on a, can you put
So
it?
it should be
But it could be
projected.
up on the screen.
What do you think you said you can't? You have, can
I
you?
did not bring a fast drive with me. I thought you might have it on file. I didn't know how you worked in this arena here. So I will bring it next time. I will come with a PDF drive with me, flash drive.
Okay, you can start, and we'll go from there.
The project that we're talking about is across from the family parks and pool system that the town has. We're looking, right now is what is a historically designed house. That was the original gatehouse from 1850 on the corner of the house. And that's on the front corner right here. That is a one-family house. It's listed as that. The current property, hold that up. Current property,
It's on the screen, actually.
oh, there you go. Fantastic. That makes it easier. Thank you. I'm gonna,
Just tell us what you want. I know who's controlling this.
that's a good question.
We are.
Great, so can you roll it up and just tell us what you'd like to do, and we'll,
Now, if I can just move it up here.
You can't,
You
you're
can't.
not controlling it from
I-
that
I-
computer.
Okay,
Speak in the microphone.
I will speak into the microphone. The existing property, as it's shown right here, has a house that's in the middle, that's on the front edge, and that's the existing gatehouse from the Vanderbilt estate at the time in the 1850s, where Beacon Hill was the main entrance to that space. It still has some of the gate work. It has a lot of the details of the house, and I think it is a very known building in the town. We don't want to eliminate that building. In fact, we want to use that as a concept for our new building. And we want to have it comparative. The existing, may I come to the board? Or?
Please bring the mic.
Yep. Okay. The existing property line is over here. Our proposal is to move the adjusted property line over here so that we can use this place for developing. Right now, there's a small driveway. It's a gravel area. It's basically some parking. That's not really legal parking lot even. It's just basically an empty lot. And we'd like to make use of this empty lot. I'm going to bring up this. I know you don't have this one on the plan. I don't know if you can get that on the camera. But this is just showing the house itself that we're talking about, that's existing gatehouse, and what we're trying to do with the high-pitched roofs. And these are the houses, the buildings all around it. This is a small development, building development for office area. Most of the housing around the area, small low-rise houses all around. Some rises on each side over here. There's a parking lot that goes up around our property. That's up in this area right here. So we're looking to create the new space within this area to try to feel like it's part of the original buildings. We're not trying to create something completely new. We can move up to the next slide. Okay. So the concept is to create a new driveway to create a proper entrance and subdivide the lot over here so that this one-story family stays intact and doesn't get in any way abused. We want to build a new building over here. Now, one of the things with the idea of the building is that most of the buildings around this area are set back. There is a DT zone, which has a 0 setback line in the front, but I felt that bringing this building up to the front would be a problem. So my feeling is that because this is way up into the property back here is one of the apartment houses, which you showed on the drawings here, the top one over there. And that could be a side yard. So as a side yard, they require a 10-foot setback on the side over here. My request is to have a side yard over here of 10 feet as well. It's a rear yard in terms of our building, because this is now our new front. I could bring the building right up to the building line as of right with the zoning code, which would give me the 25-foot setback. I can, make that work. But I just don't think it's proper for the zone itself, for the area of the housing, and for the streetscape itself. So we are recommending that. If we go to the next one. The proposal has 14 units in it. And,
Next one.
yeah, bring it up one more. Okay. We have 14 units that are going to be in this unit that we're requesting. There's 9 2-bedrooms and 5 1-bedroom apartment units. There will be accessible units, and we'll also have for affordable housing as well, 1 unit. So we're looking into that as well. The parking itself will be partly underground over here, as the other photo showed, and this would be our entrance in. The idea of the entry over here is to match with the original building of the house, the original gatehouse, and the design itself works from the gatehouse. You can just hold that up over here. Yep. Just in terms of the photos. So I can catch that again on the screen, but we're talking about, we want to catch this whole thing where they have the gate entry over here for the house. We want it to really be part of it. We don't want to create 1950s or 60s apartment building, which is similar to what we have up the block. So we have an entry over here. We have storage. We have large storage areas because now everybody's getting Amazon, so we're including that in this design. The concept would also create a couple of parking spaces on the outside. There's 20 parking spaces on the inside underneath on the basement level, which is what's required for having this number of units. There's no variances required for parking in terms of that. We move up to the next one. The second and third floor, because we're talking about a 3-story building, we'll have 2 1-bedroom apartments over here, and then 3 2-bedroom apartments on each floor level. And if we move up I guess we can go up to the next floor and go up to the roof line. The roof itself, I'm showing the parapet walls that would be mimicking the size and shape of the existing gatehouse, and that's one of the other variances that we probably will be required to have, because the parapet wall is going higher than the allowable, there by about 5 feet, because I wanted to have that high pitch to it. I feel that's also going to be important because we also have all the solar collectors up here. The solar collectors, the concept is to be for all the property itself, used for the hallways, for the parking lot area, for the entry hall, so that would create power just for the building itself. It'll also be set into bringing power down into the garage area, where we'll have recharging stations for cars as well, since that has become a very important thing. Now, in terms of recharging bikes and things like that, we may have to create a private, a closed-in area, where if we do want to have that, I would want that in an isolated area, so that if there is a fire, if there are problems with that, which we've seen all over the country now, we would have that contained within a separate room, a fire protective room. Once again, the idea of the solar collectors is to create the power for the utilities of the building itself. The elevation on the next slide. So the elevation itself would have the parking level would be going down into the parking garage, and the grade would be coming up over to the other buildings. The other parking lot is right over here from the other building. So we have a parking lot over there that'd be facing us on the side. But we are right here, looking here, our grade levels, where we are up here, the cars will be parking underneath the building itself. So the parking area is completely concealed. And once again, the idea is to create these peaks so that it matches in with the existing building, so it doesn't look, I want it to be one of the same. I want it to be there that it existed. I don't want it to look like we just stuck it there with a modern building. And as we go around the building, the other elevations, once again, we're trying to maintain the same look. We will be going with a stucco finish on the other parts of the building, which is very typical of the era, if you're going back into the 1920s, which is really what you're looking at, 1800s to 1900s, they'd have stucco, but we still maintain the shape as we go around the building. Bring up the next one. The back of the building also creating balcony areas, like balconies, bay windows, so that it's not just a flat surface. We want this to be a good-looking building on all sides. This would be the side facing the other apartment building, which there's actually just a lawn area in that space over there. Back over here. So we're far away from everything there. We're far away from the buildings. We're not close to anything. We'll bring it up to the next couple slides, just to go over where we are in terms of the other side of the building, where this is all underground and the parking area is underground, and just this is exposed on that side of the building. And once again, the neighborhood parking area is a little higher and would be looking down into that space, but I think we're far enough away from the parking lot itself.
So that's the back of the building, is that what you're
This
saying?
is the side of the building, that would be the right side of the building, which would be facing the neighbors. If I take,
So if I'm
We're looking
standing on.
down Beacon Hill towards
That's
Ashford
what
right
I was just
now.
going to
this
say, if I'm
is,
standing
this is
on.
looking down towards, no, this is looking up Beacon Hill.
Okay.
Up
This is
Beacon.
looking up Beacon Hill over here. This is the front, this is Beacon Hill here. This is the front entry with our gable end for the entry over here. And this would be the other end that's parking. I guess we go to the next slide, I could show you what that is.
So I'm sorry, the curb cut
were looking
for
at it over
parking
here.
is not on Beacon Hill, it's on Ashford?
No, it's on Beacon Hill. The entry is on Beacon Hill over here. That's the main into the driveway going down below. I wanted to have 2 parking levels over here at the time of a couple of years, because we started this present idea a few years ago, and the original building inspectors told me that we shouldn't have parking over there, but I still feel that I should have visitor parking over here where I have a curb cut area here. I thought that would work well. I think that way you can have a handicap accessible and a regular parking space right here for visitors, and this way it doesn't have to clog the streets, so people can come off and visit and not be inside the building itself.
So can you show us on that picture there?
This one?
No, there.
This one
Where,
here.
what are you referring to, right, with the parking?
Okay. And we do have this one on the, if you want to bring it back on the slide, would that be easier for everybody to see?
No.
Okay, in that case. Okay, this is the down below parking area over here that would come into the building. And the grade is going up over here. This is down lower over here as it goes down towards Ashford. The road goes down. This is going uphill, up Beacon over here. And that side of the building was this side that we were talking about. and the other people's parking lot is right up over here in that area. It's raised up in a little retaining
Is
wall
it,
there.
is it north of the island?
This is, yes, this is, well, we're going south. This would be east of the island.
Okay, I have my directions.
Yep, that's okay. It's east of the island.
It's not, it's
This is
not,
the islands are over here. Here's the islands. So we'd be entering across from the island itself. The island would be separating that space, the entry. So it'd just be one direction of traffic flow where the driveway is.
so the driveway can only go in and out one way.
No, well, no, the driveway's in and out. We have two doors for the driveway. They come out, but they're coming, they can only enter by coming around and entering on the one-way. If this is the island right here, you can see it on this one a little easier.
So they have to swing around the aisle, the
They would
island?
swing around the island so that we don't have, I didn't want cross-traffic in front of the building or around the building. I thought it'd be safer for them to come around and enter the building over here and then come into the building itself.
So 2 curb cuts.
Right, well, the cars would enter here and go into the building here.
Right.
And then you'd come out on the other side of the driveway. Both driveways are down lower.
Right. No, but what I'm saying, asking is 2 new curb cuts on.
Yes, 2 new curb cuts
on
is
the
what I would
side street.
recommend.
Okay.
I would recommend 2 curb cuts.
Thank you.
It's not required to have the additional curb cuts. If I'm looking for a curb cut over here, it's not required. But I think that there should be parking where somebody can come in, a visitor, or if somebody's making deliveries. We have the Amazon trucks all the time, not to block Beacon Hill, but that they can pull in here, make the deliveries, and then leave. I just think it's a better way to go.
You can get an Amazon truck into that without blocking the sidewalk?
We have 21 feet over here, and those usually the Amazon trucks are vans,
It's
it's
a
about
van,
20
not
feet.
the
About
UPS.
18 to 20 feet is usually the Amazon vans.
Yeah, but they just,
Planning board will be
Yeah.
looking at those elements.
yeah,
It's a planning board issue.
Right. It's just thoughts that we had for doing this and creating this space that we're trying to make as comfortable for the community, that we're not blocking the roads for the community, and having the entry coming in this direction, going this way, and then they have to come out heading the same direction. So that I didn't think it would be good to have cross-traffic in front of the building. But that's something we can work out with the planning board and traffic and things like that, how they want to work that. But the islands are over here right now, and I'd rather leave them pretty much where they are. Because it is a two-way street, and it's all one way in that direction.
Do you have a view of how this would look if it's even seen from Ashford? Let's say I'm walking down Ashford Avenue, what would I see? Would it be the
From
guest
Ashford, you would be,
gatehouse now?
if you were looking up Ashford, you would be looking up the street right here. This is the gatehouse. So you'd be looking up at the gatehouse and then looking up at our building up here.
Okay, and that's across the street. That's
That would
like,
be like the
that's
opposite
where the
corner.
medical building is, right?
Right, it's across, but this would be from the corner, actually, from
Right.
that corner, looking up the street.
Okay,
Once again, I was trying to set this building back a little bit because I feel that being on the street edge, because we're allowed a 0 lot line, but I just don't think that's really proper for the area. I think the building does need to set back if we can.
and this building you propose is 3 stories high?
3 stories high.
Did you say it exceeded the maximum height requirement by 5 feet?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does exceed with not the building itself, but for the parapet. The building itself, if we go back to we have a drawing that shows the elevation. Okay, section, if we can go back to that one.
So you have it as, the maximum height is 35 feet, and you're looking for 43.4 feet, right?
Correct.
Okay. And
The building
just-
itself, the rooftop itself is not requiring a variance, it's just the parapet walls that we're looking for.
Right, so you're looking for 2 variances at this particular time?
Correct.
Setback for the backyard and for the height,
Correct.
right? Okay.
And a change to the property line. Do you own both these properties already?
That's a subdivision.
that's not a variance.
Yes, he owns both properties.
Okay, you can, I don't want to interrupt you, so,
We do have if we have any more technical questions in terms of how the drainage was, because we did look into that as well, because stormwater is always an issue. So we have our expert here. from
well, this will
engineering.
be, we're going to refer this to the planning board, but if you can,
Okay.
because we are concerned, obviously, about the stormwater. So if you can give us a overview of how you're going to handle that?
Bring it down. This drawing's like right here, I believe, so if we can get that on there as well.
3 slides down, it looks like.
Slide 37. 36? Sorry.
You want one more?
That's fine, yeah. This one's fine. Alberta from Hudson Engineering. So stormwater-wise, the entire building is being directed to a proposed attenuation gallery over here, which is going to control the flow of runoff from the building. The driveways are connected via trench drains that connect to a new proposed catch basin, which we are connecting into the village system. However, again, the design is done with the pre and post so that the runoff coming off the site, the flow rates, are equal to or less than what's happening now.
So can you explain that again?
The entire building,
Without the word fluorine.
Like to a 5-year-old, yeah.
no worries. The entire building goes into this system. This system doesn't infiltrate. We don't have the proper depth for it, but it controls the rate of runoff. So the water that goes in doesn't come out at the same rate, it's slowed down. Unfortunately, due to elevation, we could not get this driveway area, which is just the entrance, into that system. That goes via trench drains that are put right here at the bottom of the slope into a proposed catch basin here. This gallery as well that's collecting the building is also going to that same catch basin and then connected to an existing one across the street.
Okay. So the theory is you're going to slow the flow of the water that goes into the village's system.
So that it's no worse than what it is now. So whatever flow is going through right now through the system, what we're proposing should match it or be less than what is happening.
And you're going to produce those studies that,
We have the analysis done, I just don't think the consulting engineers looked at it yet.
I'm sorry if I can ask the question, and I'm certainly not an expert as you're about to hear, but the volume of water might very well be higher given that these are basically impervious surfaces over what was raw land, correct?
Correct,
So-
so volume would technically be higher, but the flow rate would be slower. But also the soils on the site per documentation, the New York State GIS, is D soils, because they're not great percolating soils anyways.
Thank you.
anything else you want to share with us?
I mean, that pretty much covers it unless you have any other questions.
Okay, any questions?
Not on this issue.
Okay.
Just one last comment in terms of the properties itself, that what we're setting up here for this building is, within the amount of impervious surfaces according to the code. We are meeting the code in terms of lot coverage and building coverage. We're well within that, so there are no variances required for that. It is only for the rear yard and for the height of the building itself, which is both, once again, I feel they're both for improving the house by bringing it back a little bit. I think it improves the street line, and also for the height so that it matches in with the design of the existing building that's on the property.
Okay, thank you. So, we're often asked, why did we stop a building being built? And Laura Lee, or development being built, and I just want to say, Laura Lee, can you clarify, they're only asking for 2 variances,
Correct.
right? Other than that, is the building size,
Yes, it meets the code. It's compliant. If the subdivision, if the subdivision is approved.
Okay.
And that's a planning board function.
Right.
And it's a lot line adjustment, so it would not be a full-blown subdivision application, but the county requires a filing of the maps to reflect the new lot lines.
okay.
Can I ask so the DT zone, I understand the addresses on the DT zone, but, I mean, I'm not super familiar with this, but I'm just looking at it. Looks like the front, what's being called the front of the building would be on Beacon Hill, not on Ashford, right? So why would the zone of the new building be DT instead of the zone on the
Because
other?
that's what the zoning map shows for this property.
Yes.
So the DT zone, or I mean, any zone will sometimes, like where you draw the line is not always 100% clear. So if you look at the building that's across Beacon Hill, it's mainly on Ashford, but it sort of turns up, the entrance is on Beacon Hill. So the likely scenario when they were looking at that map was that they were including some of that as part of the DT zone. So, like, it's just,
But if it's set back from Ashford and its front door is on, I mean, if it's set back if you get subdivided, and there's now a lot in between the new building and Ashford.
yeah, but that property line is already in the DT zone.
I don't want to cut you off, Mike, but could we have the village?
Yeah, we have Valerie here.
Valerie.
Thank you, Valerie.
So it's less of, once the zoning map is set,
the board would have to, you would have to go through a zoning map amendment in order to change where the actual zoning lines are for that property. So whether that property gets subdivided or not, if it's within a particular zoning district, it remains in that zoning district unless the board votes to change that zoning district.
But does the property itself not change zones by virtue of being a different property with a different front door?
No, it does not. It's
Because
not, it's
both
not tied to your.
Already in the zone.
Yeah, it's not tied to an actual address per se, it's tied to the actual zoning district lines on your zoning map. So you
But
could.
if the line is on Ashford, and now you have a lot that's one lot in from Ashford,
It's already in the DT zone.
Right.
One lot in, the whole property is in the DT zone.
and if it gets subdivided, that doesn't create two lots?
It creates two lots, but then they both would be in the DT.
I see,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Anything you want to add, Mike?
No, I was just trying to.
I know, I just,
It already is lots, by the way, right now. Just moving a lot long.
I see, thank you.
Valerie, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, and I just want to, for clarification, this project will need to go not only to the planning board, but also the zoning board of appeals as well. So it requires both.
And then the architectural review board
Right.
before a building permit could be issued. So-
But
Well,
I'm
the
sa-
architectural review board is for recommendation as well, because this board sits as both
Yep.
you'll do both AHRB approval as well as site plan.
Okay, so the resolution I have is referring it to the planning board. I'm doing, should I add that we're also referring it someplace? or that-
No, because I think the planning board wants to look at, I believe, this particular application because of the, because of the variances that they're seeking, which is the building height. Dan and I thought it would probably be best to have it go to the planning board first, have them do a pre-submission app, and if they felt comfortable with it, then refer it over to the zoning board.
Okay.
Sometimes things, for applications will go to the zoning board first, but because of a couple, especially the height, if there are starting to be design changes or certain site changes, that could affect the actual zoning application.
Right.
Okay.
So it may morph, and then the variances would be different, or the needs would be different. So we try to get this initial work done, the nitty-gritty by the planning board first. If changes are made to the design, or if, say, they need 12 or 15 feet instead of 10 in the back, then it would be premature to send them to the zoning board now.
Okay, any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I have a comment just to the applicant. I think that what you should consider is two issues. And I like what you're doing with concealing equipment, solar panels, and that sort of extended parapet, roof line concept is a good one. We like to see new housing. We need new housing in Dobbs Ferry, so we're happy to see that. I do think that the combination of the larger roof and the minimal setback at the rear makes for kind of aggressive massing. So I just think when you go to the planning board, you should keep that in mind, maybe have some alternatives as to how you might address that and still meet your concept, because I think it's going to be an important consideration in working through this, and just some flexibility, amenability on your behalf will move you more quickly through the process. So.
And this development also includes an affordable housing requirement. So that's part of the project itself, because it's 14 units, they have to include an affordable unit. It's rounded up after the half, so if it were 15, they'd need 2.
Okay, anything else from the board?
Can you just clarify in plain English what the resolution that we'll be voting on? I understand it will, this process will now go on, but what are we?
Laura Lee,
saying?
you can correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to, declare ourselves the lead agency for SEQRA purposes. We're going to declare ourselves the lead agency on taking, we have to make the final decision, but before we can, we're going to also list it as an unlisted action for SEQRA, and then we're going to simply refer it to the planning board and to the Westchester County Planning Board for them to all review it. That's all we're doing tonight.
Correct. These are all the necessary referrals under your local code and under general municipal law.
And the planning board will then schedule a public hearing.
Yes.
Where the public can speak. They will work with whatever has to be done, as Mike alluded to, and then it'll come back to us to make that final decision. Correct?
To set a public hearing, yep, to make the final.
Okay.
Yes. And it will go hand in hand with the process to move that lot line, because you don't have jurisdiction over the subdivisions, the planning board does, but we will be, after they make their presentation there and the conversation starts down the line, this might be an appropriate application for notice of a joint public hearing, because I think it would be helpful.
Yeah.
I agree.
But we need to get them started first, and we need to get this over to the county as required by state
Right,
statute.
so I know the public wants to speak on this, but you'll have opportunities at the public hearing for the planning board, and certainly when we have, make a final vote on it, you certainly can speak then. So that's how the process works.
It could very well be an altered project by the time it comes back to you. The planning board generally has the expertise to look at the nitty-gritty and the kinds of things that Trustee Patina were talking about, in this, the stormwater pollution prevention and all the reviews, all of that stuff will start to be initiated.
So just to clarify, when it comes back to us for a vote, that it will have already been to planning, zoning, HRB?
No. You're going to be you're going to stand in the shoes of a HRB. You will do that, but you'll have to have a public hearing before you can do your approvals. The planning board chooses to do that. It's not mandatory, but they refine the project for you to get all those details. And then it comes back to you, and when it comes back to you, then we'll have determined the extent of the variances, so they could do a parallel application to the zoning board at that time.
And the zoning board will determine whether the subdivision,
No.
the shift to the property line? No.
No, the zoning board will talk about the variances,
Okay,
the height to
right. Then
the
setback.
parapet wall top, and also the setback that they're proposing to the
So
the
we
rear yard.
would determine whether or not the change in property line,
No, that's a subdivision in the planning board. That's entirely
That's
within
planning board.
the planning board's purview.
So next step, it's gonna go planning.
Yeah.
There may be some joint workshop or something like that, sometimes we'll work that out, planning board. Sounds like maybe that's a good idea from, what we're hearing. They'll have some more input from us, community, et cetera, applicant. And then we will get a recommendation. The planning board will look at whatever elements they're looking at, including architecture review, and we'll get a recommendation from them before we have our public hearing.
okay, and their
There's
purview
several more
includes the
steps.
recommendation around the property line placement? Planning,
No, property line placement is, they're going to decide on independent.
We don't decide that. The planning board decides that.
okay.
Valerie?
Right, and I was going to say, we'll need to, this will require a little bit more coordination because of the ZBA, because you're not going to want to, I think we'll work with Corporation Council on that, because you're not going to want to have it go back and forth, right? So as much as possible, we'll potentially have like a joint meeting with the planning board and this board, and then at that meeting, hopefully then they'll get the referral to the ZBA, right? So instead of it coming back here, then another referral to the ZBA, hopefully that'll be done all in one fell swoop, so that way they can go to the ZBA, get their variances, come back to you, and then they can finish the process.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you. I just have a quick question. So you mentioned there'll be, I guess, one affordable unit, but you also mentioned accessible. So will the accessible units be affordable, or is one going to be accessible and one going to be affordable?
Well, the accessible.
Go to the microphone.
Microphone, please.
We haven't gone that far. We were planning on having one of the two bedrooms as being a affordable building unit, and we had two units. It may be that same unit that'd be accessible as well. We have to have at least two units that are accessible, and that's
Yeah.
the plan for this.
Okay.
We'll have one bedroom and one two-bedroom as
Okay,
accessible.
because there's countywide, affordable housing is the buzzword, but accessible housing that has to be also affordable. It's not, they're not necessarily coming together in a lot of
Right, that's
places,
why
and
a
it's
lot
a
of
big,
times
big
that people-
concern in the disability community, so.
I would agree. A lot of times that when you need the accessible spaces, they all need to be affordable as well. So most likely it would be, as I said, would most likely be combined.
Okay.
Maybe I missed it. Are these rentals, or these will be like a co-op or a condo?
We're looking at these as rentals right now. And it's only 14 units. We're not, flooding the space. It's only a small three-story building.
And
5
keep-
units per floor.
And keep in mind, as in the past, if the developer would like to propose additional affordable or accessible units, that's at their option. And although it isn't mandatory, many other developers often offer that during the process to make the development and meet the goals of the village.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
Okay, so I think we're ready to take action on this. So is there a motion to have the Village Board of Trustees declare itself the lead agency for the environmental review of the project in accordance with New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and for the Board of Trustees to classify this as an unlisted action and to refer this matter for comment and recommendation on the site plan application to the Dobbsbury Planning Board and the Westchester County Planning Board? Is there a motion? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next item, presentation, is a presentation from Mercy University.
Mercy College,
Mercy University.
University,
Yes.
usually I'm.
it's all good news, it's all good news.
Gotta drive by there.
Utica College, that's it.
Need a moment to load our slides.
So while Tom loads the slides, I'll do the introductions. Good evening. For the record, my name is Steve Rabel. I'm with the law firm McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout. I'm here tonight on behalf of Mercy University, formerly Mercy College.
I'm speaking to the mic a little bit more. There you go.
How's this? Better?
Yeah.
Can you
Good?
hear Larry?
Larry,
Larry, can you hear? Okay.
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 He's all the way out in Utah. so-
He's muted too.
So I have with me tonight from the college, Tom Simmons, who's
From the university.
from the university. Thank you.
How many?
That's right.
Tom Simmons, who's the VP of Operations and Facilities. I also have my associate, Taryn Ramey. So in short, what the university is looking to do are some minor upgrades to their existing athletic fields. As Tom's going to walk you through in detail in just a minute, they're looking at upgrading their existing baseball dugouts, which are currently sheltered by temporary tent structures, their sound system, and some of their scoreboards, as well as some safety netting to protect some of the spectators who come to the games. So I think we've got the slides up, and I will now turn it over to Tom Simmons.
Good evening. Excuse me. Okay, we're not able to make the slides full size, but I think that's okay. So what I thought I'd do this evening as an introduction, we have a couple slides of the themes of this project, but I also brought a couple images of the past projects that you have approved for us recently that are just wrapping up. If you think that's of interest, I could spend about 5 minutes and overview that, if you would like that. If not, I'll hop right to the.
Let's see what we've approved and how it looks, so go ahead.
Yeah. Dying to see the pavilion.
I'm sorry. So the front entry, which, maybe 4 years ago or so, I was here with you when we were doing Hudson Hall with the turning lane, and all that is really just about done. We've got some remaining work with the DOT and Con Ed to still move a couple of the pedestrian signal poles, but we did some temporary wiring 2 weeks ago so we could pave that and get it open. but it's substantially complete, and we think it's has made some signature changes for us, and we thank you for your recommendations that we did together to make this really come together. I will remind you, when we first looked at this, when it was a little more engineering-based, there was a big retaining wall along the edge of that right side of the additional lane we added. So I think you working with us, allowing me to cut that bank back and work on the grading there and step some of the stone and stuff, really made a significant change on what we wanted to do, what the DOT had first approved.
Was the bus shelter put in over there?
Yeah, so the bus shelter, let me just try to figure out if it's page.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I want to show you a picture though. No, we're in the middle of the slides, so we'll, I can get this one up. So if you look at that upper left picture, you know, when we worked with you on the bus thing, I know Rob Barron had some ideas and different people, and I mentioned to Rob the other day that we would have to kind of figure out a plan attack on this. So we recessed when we worked with the Westchester County folks. Currently, that seat was along the edge before Landing Drive, and their recommendation was to pull it back a little bit and to recess it into the bank, which we did, and it works well. But now we'll have to just work with you a little bit on thoughts for type of structure. And you had some thoughts about sustainable themes and what we could do together on those. If we just let Westchester County put their typical structure in there, which is an option. Right now, they have kind of a canned standard that they put in. With that, then they control the advertising that can go on both sides of it, so it's less sustainable and it's more about revenue for them from an advertising standpoint, and then they maintain it, the snow or the path. So what you had told me earlier is you thought it was better to kind of partner with something that might be a little more sustainable, that we together could control less of propaganda, so to speak, and more something that might be a theme that would start with your corridor on that. So we're open to, right now we built that, as well as the one across the street at the Aldersgate edge, which really isn't our property, but there's just a pad there right now. So we'll look forward to advancing those discussions, because I committed to working with you on that.
Okay, and I know you're meeting with Rob in a couple of days, if I'm correct?
Yeah.
Right, so, okay.
And then the rest of the things on the front, a couple other things here quickly on this. You know, I think one of the things you helped us with here was this idea of a pollination corridor. So I think all the site work that we did out in front, we worked with various people from the community that would stop to see us, and a horticulturalist for some native species. And, you know, we're pretty proud of that. If you haven't had a chance to walk through those kind of formal and informal pathways we've done there, I think this will, is going to do the things we hoped it would do. The neighbors have been, you know, very kind to us as I've run into them as they're walking along the trail in different areas. And then we worked on this same control point that you had worked with us before on for our traffic monitoring and things like that. We added another lane there. So in this day and age, a lot of times when there's a guardhouse, people stop to ask questions, you know, and they ask, and so then it backs up traffic. So now we have the ability where we have routine people that are coming in all the time that are permitted to bypass that and to just go in through the gate. And we think that will help, where a couple times if we have an event and people ask a lot of questions, the traffic would back up to the Aqueduct Trail and sometimes even out onto 9 because people were trying to, you know, get more information. Yes.
Yeah, just one thing to consider as, you know, as you look at how the native grasses that you've planted along the aqueduct grow. You know, there's a stop sign there at Landing Drive, and there have been some people who've expressed some concern that the grasses are growing rather tall and making it hard to see if somebody's coming along trail on a bike. They should be stopping. That shouldn't be an issue, but people are people. So like if you could just keep an eye on maintaining sort of like a reasonable level of height for those grasses.
Yeah, we got the same comment, Matt, and gotcha. We've pulled some of them out and did different radius there to try to cut them back.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep. And then the pavilion is something that you had permitted with me last time I was here. And they're putting the roof on it right now. So we're getting pretty close. I hope you had a chance to see that. We're pretty proud of the native granite stone that was hand cut. And the timber frame, it's all a Doug fir open timber frame piece. It's got a copper roof going on it. And I think this really fits with the theme of what we call the Grove, which is kind of an old growth treed kind of park feel. And we're pretty proud of that. And we think it's going to be a good asset for Mercy and the community for a variety of events. The R lot, which was the other piece that you had approved for us along with the pavilion, is our lowest lot that's back behind the athletic field that we're going to talk about in a moment. And that had a couple issues, mostly that dealt with, this is tricky here, mostly that dealt with stormwater runoff and the bank stabilization on the back of that over the MTA line. So we're now at a point where binder's going down. We're a couple weeks behind on this one, but we were able to address the gabion walls along the bank of the edge of that, put a new retaining wall and new drainage structures to go into what was happening there to prevent. So the idea of our larger parking lot sheet draining onto this with torrential rains causing problems will be addressed. And this one got a little more expensive than we'd like with some of those things we had to do, but it's going to be successful and it's there. And then last but not least, as we've changed to Mercy University, hopefully you've seen some of our rebranding and things that we've done. There's still a lot to go, so I always say thank you to anybody that reminds me we haven't done this sign yet, or there's this one here and all that, so we get a lot of that. But we had a ceremony on the 22nd of August, and we unveiled a lot of this, and we are doing all sorts of rewraps and different things with our image, so we're pretty excited about that. Okay, so taking us to our project that we're here before you on, it really has four components that was mentioned to you. This is really a kind of a rework of an existing turf field. The turf field was put in at 2012. We don't have dugouts there. Right now I rent like tent structures that are put up over time, and it's a little costly, and the wind and the site on the back of the Hudson, so it's one of the things we've talked about for a while. So they're just normal size baseball dugouts. There'd be one on each line that goes with that. We're then going to put some new netting. We have some issues with foul balls, breaking windows and dinging cars and things like that. So we're going to put some more netting a little bit further along the foul pole lines. And then the last two elements are a scoreboard and sound. Both of those things, I won't say are temporary, but they've been planned and implemented on the field. The scoreboard used to be on a trailer, like a rented one that was there, and it's just setting on the lawn on the back of the top of the seating area. So it's very hard for anyone to see. And then the sound system is a little bit like an outdoor PA system that someone might bring somewhere if you were going to have a mini concert or something. So it's a little bit tough to, where you're pointing the speakers and things like that. We've been pretty, I think I've had some good conversations with the landing folks about how you would approach this. And the scoreboard will be along the south end of the field that's over by the landing side, but it would point at the field. I think we've done a good job with our consultants to think about the scale of what the size of that needs to be, so you can see it from the other ends around the whole field. There won't be any sound with the scoreboard on that end. What we're doing is we're talking about putting 3 speakers along the seating area up by where the press box is currently, that will be directionally kind of facing down to where the people are sitting. And we think that will help, actually, with any of the sound comments we would get over time. And then we'll put one over by the baseball first baseline, because when you're at the baseball scenario, they would always switch the sound around, so this doesn't have us have to do that so people can hear who the next batter is and those type of things. So, you know, we're not doing anything big grandiose with lighting or a full sound system around the whole field or anything like that. We've just thought about, you know, what we can do to keep this on par with, you know, the other athletics groups and our universities in our group. And with that, we've taken a good look at, our consultants have done a lot of photo montages that you've probably seen in your package of what you're going to see. You know, here you're looking at the end of the turf field, so you can see, even though in one picture the scoreboard being 25 feet might seem huge, but when you get on the end of the 100-yard piece, it's actually pretty small on the other end. We're working with Daktronics and, you know, people that do this regularly at areas to say what's the right size to do them, what we need to be with those. And in this day and age, they're pretty much video panels that let you put, you know, playback or, you know, whatever you want to show on those. So that's where we're at with it. It's not a real complex project. We think it's just doing some good enhancements to the field. And we're welcome to answer any questions if you have any.
Could you just show us where the speakers would be,
Sure.
Tom?
Okay, so here's the field. I think you can see the two dugouts. And on the right side of the image here, you'll see that's the seating, the stone seating we put on the bank that goes up. And you'll see right in the middle is one speaker, and towards each end, those other black dots. Can you see where I'm pointing at?
No, could you?
So the speakers, one is here on the press box. There's currently, this is the seating that that you approved for us some years back, where we put the stone kind of amphitheater type seating in the bank. So there's one on top of the press box, and then there's one over here by the door where you come out of Main Hall, and one on the end of the stair that's at the other end of the seating. So directionally, they will just go in that direction. And the last one is over here. That's before the dugout. And the scoreboard is down in this area here.
The landing is just south of, or below
The
the
landing
screen,
is
basically? Okay.
down over here, yes.
And there's no seating on the left or right field foul lines?
No.
All the seating is in the outfield, it's all the bleacher seating?
Yeah, the field, the seating is just here. People will stand along this fence sometime to watch it, but there's no additional seating. That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Valerie, do you want to come up and tell us what we have to do?
This one is similar to the last one, and you'll be referring it over to the.
Please use the microphone.
Oh, sorry. This one is similar to the last one. You will be referring this over to the planning board, again, for recommendation for site plan approval. You, as the AHRB, will also be reviewing this when it comes back to you, and it does require a county referral. So tonight, it's really just, and it's an unlisted action under seeker, so it's a notice of intent to be lead agency. So a very similar resolution that you just passed for the previous application, except this one does not require zoning board of appeal approval.
And no subdivision.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments before I put this forth?
Want to ask about the LDC?
Oh, yeah. Thanks. So I don't know about the financing that's going to be involved with this, but we do have an LDC, and I think it would be great if the university could avail itself maybe of take a look at the LDC and what we have to offer.
Okay, we'd be glad to look at it, sure. It's about $1 million project, we think, maybe 950,000.
Okay.
So I suppose before the board takes action, one thing we had chatted with council about that I think Lorelei mentioned in the last application was the board sometimes holds joint meetings with the planning board. We don't know if that would be appropriate here. If not, my understanding it would be the planning board on the 5th and back here for October 24th.
I'm not sure it'll be turned around that quickly.
Right, yeah.
The only thing I will say is we wouldn't need a joint meeting for this project.
Okay.
So whether or not your timing works out that way is, I'm not sure, but we wouldn't delay you with an extra joint meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so is there a motion for the Board of Trustees to declare itself the lead agency for the environmental review of the project, declare it an unlisted action in accordance with SECRA, and to refer this site plan application to the Dobbs Ferry Planning Board for review and to the Westchester County Planning Board as required by general municipal law? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Steve represents another one, the next one too, so Steve's going to hang around. Oh, I thought you were going to let your associate handle the next one.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Should let her handle that one.
Okay, let's go to presentation number 3, which is a petition for a zoning text amendment to CP zone to permit veterinarian clinic at Rivertown Square. Just before you start, Laura Lee, can you just tell us what is a text amendment, zoning text amendment, and what are we faced with today?
Sure, I actually have drafted a proposed local law for you, and it should be in your packet. I'm hoping it is. It's simply a change in the use tables for this zone. You would be adding a use that is not already permitted in this zone. You'd be adding that as the text would be included in just the use tables at the back.
So we're being asked to change this to permit, and correct me if I'm wrong, animal-related use.
General.
General.
Yes,
Okay.
not intensive. It's all going to be interior at the veterinary clinic. There's a vacant space there currently right now. Animal uses, general, are not a permitted use in the CP zone, so they're petitioning to make that happen.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can we just be reminded, this would cover all of the CP zone, and the CP zone is what area?
The Chauncey Park
Square
zone?
and.
Yeah.
So it's just Rivertown Square and Chauncey Park that this would affect,
Yeah,
it wouldn't
yeah.
affect other areas of the village. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, this is the general, not the intensive. The intensive would include overnight boarding and kennels and outdoor uses. This is all going to be interior, and I'm sure I'm usurping Steve's presentation.
Well, then I'll ask a question of Steve. Why is animal use not generally part of the CP? Why is this an unusual thing to have in a CP zone?
It isn't an unusual thing. It's just, it hasn't up to this point been requested as a permitted use. So it's not unusual. It's just something that hadn't been thought of up to this point.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Mr. Taylor, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So again, just for the record, Steve Rabel, law firm McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout. Now, on behalf of Mobius Veterinary Services, I have with me now Dr. Carrie Huter, as well as, again, my associate, Taryn Ramey. So as Lori Lee very succinctly, comprehensively stated, we're here tonight asking for a zoning text amendment to add a new permitted use to the CP district. So as we've already gone over, the use in question is animal-related use general, which is the lower impact use. So it's typical veterinary services. Dr. Huter's practice focuses on internal medicine and diagnostics for cats and dogs. It's simply not a permitted use under the zoning ordinance as currently iterated for this district. So we're asking to add it so that he can lease out about 3,100 square feet of space within Rivertown Square. So if you'd like, I can turn it over to the doctor to give you a 60-second overview of what his practice entails. But really the key points are it's no overnight boarding, it's no large animals, it's dogs and cats primarily.
When you say no large animals. So,
Dogs are large.
Large dogs, yes, large dogs.
so is it, and then you said primarily, so is it just cats and dogs, or,
What about bunnies? They're little, I'm sure.
Typical household pets, like, I think the code actually gives examples. It speaks to dogs, cats, fish, birds, and it says small mammals. But we would not be taking in something like a horse or some large, non-typical domesticated pet. Yes.
okay.
Not even a mini horse, I guess, right? So that would include like ferrets and hamsters, and, you know, like
Right,
that.
and just so I'm clear, if the doctor decides, hey, let's make this into a boarding of animals, he would have to come back here.
For
and we would
another
have to-
zoning amendment.
I think there's confusion, so technically, the general animal use code does allow for boarding overnight if there was a medical, something associated with some sort of medical, need for that particular pet. This particular application is not seeking that. But if you're doing a zoning text change, the zoning text change would go to throughout that zoning district. So theoretically, at some point in time, if another veterinarian service opens up and they say, we offer certain medical services that allow for, animals to stay overnight, technically they would be able to board overnight based upon your zoning code definition of animal general. So I just want to make sure
Right,
that
but that's
Medical
fine,
need,
yes.
not for
Right.
a convenience.
Right,
Right.
that's correct.
So if they want to come back and just do offer a boarding.
Right, that would not be permissible.
They would have to come to us, and we'd have to approve that.
Right, that's correct. It would have to be another zoning text amendment.
And keep in mind that veterinarian clinics are just an example of a general pet-related
Right.
use. Also, it includes grooming,
Right.
services, and also perhaps like pet stores, like sales.
Right,
But
my
you can't
concern
sell
was,
pets anymore.
right, my concern was the boarding part of it, so that's.
Yeah, so I'm just clarifying.
Valerie, do you know what, if any, veterinary general animal use codes exist in other zones, like the downtown zones? Do we have them on?
So you do, I don't have it off the top of my head, but you do allow for general use in a number of your zoning districts. So this one is just, we actually don't, in my personal opinion, I think to a larger extent, you already allow for medical offices in the Chauncey Park district. And so the general animal use is more or less very similar in those types of uses.
Yeah, and it seems like if we offer it in other commercial districts.
Yes, and
Yeah,
it
it
is
would
pretty
be-
commonplace.
Downtown and DT, we allow it. I didn't
Yeah.
look at any other ones, but this is generally, this is very similar to downtown or DT.
Right,
So
understood.
seems-
Okay,
you.
any other
And the planning board already looked at this at their meeting last week, and they were in support of the proposed text amendment.
Yeah, I can explain why that is the case, because, as you know, Dan Posen from my office represents the planning board, and I get the agendas, and I'm involved with the correspondence. The agenda was so light, there were only 2 applications on, one of which was purely an HRB, and since the the agenda was so light, I suggested to the chair and to Dan Posen, you might want to just take a quick look at this in advance. It's going to be coming to you, and since it's not a mandatory referral, the fact that they saw it ahead of time doesn't defeat the purpose of your resolution tonight. But you'll get that recommendation in advance of taking up the issue of the local law.
Okay, and all we're doing now is scheduling a public hearing because of the planning board's already.
Well, what you're going to do is you've got to refer it to zoning text amendment, so that takes an extra layer of notice. Under New York State Village law, you have to notify the neighboring and adjoining municipalities. You also have to notify, because it's a zoning amendment, you have to notify the county planning. So you'll still need to wait the additional time, but I just thought, take advantage of the light agenda, so I took it upon myself
Okay.
to ask them to look.
Any other comments? Okay, so is there a motion for the Board of Trustees to schedule a public hearing for October 10th, 2023 at the Village Hall at 7:30
That's wrong.
and to serve as lead agency for purposes of secra.
And to make the necessary referrals under your code and the general municipal.
Okay, and to make necessary referrals as listed under the general municipal law. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Rosenasher, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Okay, we'll see you October 10th.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We look forward to it. Have a nice night.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the courtesy of the floor. Was there anybody here to speak to regarding courtesy of the floor? Anybody online? Okay, let's move forward then. Take some action. Action item number 1 is to schedule a public hearing for September 26, 2023, to consider a local law amending Chapter 290 to incorporate a master schedule of stop intersections and to add new intersections to the schedule. So is there a motion to schedule a public hearing for September 26, 2023? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Rosenasher, all in favor? That is now scheduled. Public hearing is now scheduled. Action item number 2 is to consider a resolution authorizing tax certiorari settlement with petitioner 72-75 Main Street for a property located at 72 Main Street. I don't know who's speaking on this. Jeff, you are?
Sure. Yeah, this really is going to relate to the next 2 resolutions as well. You know, in the normal course, ordinary course of business with the village, you know, you have property owners who challenge their assessment, you know, and as the town of Greenberg is the lead, is the assessing unit for the village, they handle, you know, these cases for the village. And you're still actually required to approve the settlements, and that's what we're requesting tonight.
Okay, so we hate to give any money back, but these are negotiated settlements. So the first one, as we referred to, is a total, I believe, of $4,970.72, which covers tax years 2022 through 2024. Correct, Jeff?
I am showing, yes, the 22-23 tax year and the 23-24 tax
Right.
year.
Okay, so is there a motion to authorize the tax certiorari settlement as outlined? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Taylor, all in favor? That passes unanimously. I don't want you to be, you know, giving back money. It doesn't look good.
Oh, thanks. For Larry and
The second one is the same, I gather. It is a tax certiorari agreement for the property located at 107 Main Street. It includes tax years 2017 through 2024, in the amount of $5,479.92. Is there a motion to authorize that tax certiorari settlement? Trustee Galen. Second, Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? That passes unanimously. The next one involves property located at 145 Palisade Street, and that covers tax years 2021 through 2022. That unfortunately is a little bit higher. The refund due is $10,143.92. Is there a motion to authorize that tax certiorari? Trustee Galen and Trustee Taylor. All in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 5 is to consider a resolution authorizing the street closure of Cedar and Main Street for the 2023 Ferry Festa, which is going to be held on October 7th between the hours of 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. I'm looking forward to it. Let's hope it doesn't rain. And is there a motion to authorize the street closure? Trustee Rosenasher, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 6 is to consider a resolution authorizing the village administrator to sign up. So it's not a license agreement.
There is a license agreement.
There is a license.
It's, if you look at that resolution, it's to accept the donation and then authorize.
Okay, so let's do this first. I have to accept the donation. I accept, right? So is there a motion to accept a donation from the Dobbs Ferry Youth Football Club for lights at Gould Park, the estimated value of which is $4,800. Is there a motion? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Rosenasher. All in favor? That passes unanimously. Next, is there a motion to authorize the village administrator to sign a license agreement with the Dobbs Ferry Youth Football for the installation of the football lights?
No, it's actually in the same resolution you just read.
Donation and licensing, right?
That's right, the
Yes.
last line does say that.
Yes. You further resolve that, comma.
Okay.
I was listening.
Thanks, Sherry. Somebody was. I know, Mayor. I'm giving you the English teacher look, right?
Action item number 7 is to consider a resolution authorizing the village administrator to execute a renewal license agreement with the state of New York for the docks at Waterfront Park. We have been notified that this happens every 10 years. The last one went from August 1st, 2013, and has recently expired, so we must enter into a new agreement with the state of New York. So is there a motion to authorize the village administrator to execute a certain submerged land license agreement with the state of New York? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 8 is to consider a resolution to authorize the village administrator to enter into an agreement with the Rivertown's Chamber of Commerce for a total not to exceed $3,000 in support of programs benefiting the village. I haven't even made it yet, Jerry. So we have receipt of a letter dated March 29, 2023 from the Chamber outlining why they are asking for the money and asking for financial support. They've also made a presentation to us. So is there a motion to authorize the village administrator to execute a public-private partnership agreement with the Rivertown's Chamber of Commerce? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor. That passes unanimously.
Sorry a minute.
And they have the agreement. I'm waiting to just get the appendices, and then we can give it to Rob to sign.
Action item number 9 is to consider a resolution approving a year-end budget transfer and budget amendment as recommended by the village treasurer. Jeff, can you just give us a brief
Sure. This
synopsis
is
of it?
a process that we have done annually for a number of years, before I started here even. When we put the budget together, it's an estimate. And, over the course of the year, sometimes some of the lines get overspent and technically not allowed to have overspent budget lines. So I need to request your approval to move some of the budget around. And that's what this request
And
is.
you did outline where you're moving it to.
Correct.
So, okay, so is there a motion approving the year-end budget transfer and budget amendment as recommended by the village treasurer's office? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Taylor, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Action item number 10 is to consider a resolution approving the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village treasurer. Jeff, is there anything unusual to this, or with this?
No, nothing unusual.
Okay, so is there a motion to do so? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. I am adding action item number 11, which is a resolution to authorize the village administrator to enter into an agreement with Dolph Engineering, the village engineer, not to exceed the amount of $10,500 regarding performing testing of the High Street wall. Is there a motion? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. So Laura Lee, I did that without any input from you.
No, I'm training you well, Grasshopper.
So let's go to trustee liaison reports. Do you have anything, Trustee Gay?
Yes, we are all very excited about Ferry Festa. The Downtown Committee and Chamber are supporting the Rec Department on that. And I just want to say, if there are any Dobbs Ferry businesses who have not already signed up to participate, I hope that they will. And we want to make sure we have as much Dobbs Ferry representation as possible. So you can check out the village website to get that application form, or you can send a direct message to the Downtown Dobbs Ferry Committee on Instagram, which is @Downtown Dobbs Ferry. And likewise, we are starting conversations already between Rec Department, Chamber, and Downtown Committee about the sort of fall and winter holiday activities. So just continuing to build on those collaborative relationships.
Okay, great. Trustee Rosenberg?
Neither of my committees have met since the last meeting.
Deputy Mayor Sullivan?
Don't have anything.
Trustee Rosen Asher?
The Human Rights and Diversity Committee is getting all the information together from their survey, and I think they have requested to present, so I don't know when that's going to happen. I think they wanted to set up a meeting with the village administrator first, but I think that will all be very enlightening. And the seniors are having the Friends of the Dobbs Ferry Seniors event on September 26th from 6 to 8 at Hudson Social. So hopefully we can all pop over there for a little bit before we come to our workshop. But for those of you who are not sitting up here, we hope that you will go and support our seniors.
Thank you. Trustee Patino?
We skipped CAB and meeting in August, and it was a pretty light agenda for the planning board, so nothing.
Okay. Trustee Taylor?
So a couple things quickly. The library continues to run an amazing array of programs. They're doing joint ventures with groups like the Sustainability Task Force, and encourage everyone to follow and enjoy what the library offers. And it was mentioned earlier, so I won't dwell on it, but the Zero Waste initiative at the jazz concerts over the summer really did raise awareness and was a terrific program. So thanks to those volunteers.
Thank you. I just have a few announcements that I want to thank Liz for putting together, I guess, on Margaret as well. So I just want to let everyone know that on September 11th, which was yesterday, the fire department hosted an annual September 11th memorial service at the firehouse on Main Street. The service was held indoors because of the weather. It was very well attended, it was very moving, and I think it's important for us to continue to have this memorial service, and I want to thank the fire department for putting together every year, because it is appropriate for us to take time to reflect on that. I also want to let everybody know that regarding the Gould Park improvement bid opening was on Monday, September 11th. Bids are currently being reviewed by the village's engineering consultant, and we anticipate awarding the bid at the next Board of Trustee meeting, which would be September 26th. So stay tuned for that, and we can get to see the extent and scope of the project and how much it will cost us. We also met with Assembly Member Mary Jane Shimsky and Speaker of the Assembly Carl Heastie at the High Street Bridge by the Metro North Station, by the tracks, and we're happy to announce that the Speaker and Mary Jane Shimsky have provided us with $2 million, which is the estimated cost of repairing that bridge. That bridge, as we all know, provides the only driving access to Waterfront Park for the commuters at the Metro North Station, as well as to restaurants that are down there. So we're very grateful to both the Speaker and to Mary Jane Shimsky for their efforts in doing that. I want to thank the staff and the Board of Trustees who were at that meeting, and all in all, it was well worth the wait. I want to also announce that the Viola water main repairs will be starting on September 18th on Irvington Street at Ashford Avenue and portions of Bellevue Avenue as well as Florence Avenue to replace water mains, and the full pavement of the streets will follow that. And we did receive a project report regarding the Little White Church Cemetery. I'd like to spend more time on that, not tonight, but if we can have some kind of a presentation maybe made on the church, I'd like to go cemetery, I think that'll be great. And you also have some other ideas, maybe we can do some more shrubbery or whatever with that, so we can talk about that. Okay? I think that's it. Right, so
I have one question regarding a bid project. Have we gone out to bid on the Storm Street project yet now?
It's being advertised, it will be in the paper Friday. It'll appear, I guess for 2 weeks to to advertise the project, and then I think we can put it on the October 10th board agenda.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Trustee, let's see, Shari Rosen Asher makes that motion. Seconded is Deputy Mayor Sullivan. All in favor? Meeting is hereby adjourned.
That's a powerful. Tonight.